Goal! How can you work out when the first goal is going to be scored in a football match? That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. So what do you need to work out when a goal is going to be scored in a football match? Well, you'll need a calculator and you'll also need an opinion as well. If you go into any football match, you'll be able to form an opinion fairly quickly in terms of how many goals you think there will be. Will it be a low scoring match? Will it be a high scoring match? And, will there be 3 goals? Because if there are 3 goals, that can only occur a certain number of ways. 3-0 or 1-2, 2-1. That's the only way that that can occur. If there are 2 goals, it could be 2-0, 0-2, 1-all. And if there's 1 goal, then obviously there's only 2 ways that that can occur. So forming an opinion could take the shape of a number of different ways. But what you're trying to form an opinion on is how many goals are going to be scored. So it could be that you sort of think, well, England are almost certainly going to score 1 goal and they may score 2. So you could actually say they're going to score 2 goals, so you could say they're only going to score 1. Or, in this particular instance, you could say, I think they could score 2, but I'm hedging a bit more towards 1. So in fact, I'm going to go in the middle. I'm going to say 1.5. When you're working out and assessing a market, that's what you do. You basically split your opinion. You indicate and push it in one direction or the other. So then we look at England's opponents or whoever you're assessing and you sort of think, what chance have they got of scoring? And you sort of think, well, they're not as good as England, so I'm going to push the number down a little bit. And I'm going to say they'll probably score 1 goal. And then you sort of think, well, but when you say they're going to score 1 goal, what we're saying is they're going to score 1 goal on average. So 50% of the time, if this match was played 10 times, in 5 of those matches, they would score 1 goal. So if you don't believe that and you think they're going to score at a lower rate, then you again mark it down. So instead of saying 1 goal, you could say 0.8 of a goal. So you could end up with a calculation that says 1.5 goals for one team, 0.8 for another, equaling a total of 2.3 goals. That's where you need to start. Now you could do that through your own opinion, or you could do it using statistics, something that somebody's posted somewhere, some general assessment. But you can tell that there aren't going to be fewer than 0 goals, and it's more likely to be 1 or 2 goals, and it's less likely to be above 3. You can sort of begin to work in that area to form an opinion on how you think the match is going to play out. But that's where you need to start. This is quite a simplistic approach I'm going to talk about here. It doesn't include all the detail and dependencies. I've spent years and years and years and years working on a model that allows me to predict the average number of goals in a match to a very high degree of accuracy. But it's too complicated to explain on a simple video. So this method I'm giving you here will allow you to make an assessment without all of that complexity, and then you can go off and explore and work out all of the characteristics around that. So once you've got the number of goals, we've got 2.3 goals in this particular case. You get your calculator out. And if you look at a football match, we know it's 90 minutes, but of course it's not 90 minutes. It's going to be 46 minutes and maybe 50 minutes in the second half. But basically you have to start thinking, well, what's the first half? So if I go 46 minutes, we're adding a minute of extra time in the first half, and we'll be generous, we'll add 3 on at the end of full time. So if we do 46 plus 49 equals a total of 95 minutes. You don't need a calculator for that really, but I just did it because I've got one. So yeah, we're saying that the match is going to be played over 95 minutes. So in the calculation that I've done in my head, and roughly, I've said they're going to be 2.3 goals. So if I do 95 divided by 2.3 goals, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Can you see it? It says 41.3. What I'm saying here, if there are 2.3 goals in the game, then that first goal will occur around 41 minutes. Now, it's not as simple as that. I have a beautiful equation that calculates it down to the second and takes into account many different factors. But it does give you an opinion. It pushes you closer to where you're likely to see that first goal. Now, one of the issues that you've got here is, it could be that an early goal leads to another goal quickly, or if the match changes shape and so on. And also the distribution of goals is quite wide. So we're saying the average goal, the time on average that first goal will be scored in a match that contains 2.3 goals, will be around 41 minutes or thereabouts. So you're looking at me and thinking, well, it can't be that simple. But generally it is, because goals are randomly distributed. They have a long, quite a fat bell curve, because of course the chance of it being scored at 41 minutes, you know, it could be scored at 31 or 21 or 10. So it's quite an unusual shape to that curve. Well, I say unusual, it's randomly distributed. And that's why you can use this calculation to roughly estimate where you think that goal is going to be scored. And it will be remarkably accurate over the course of the season. Not as accurate as using a full-blown equation and doing all of the calculations correctly and assessing the match correctly, but it will be reasonably accurate. Does it work in reality? You know, can it be that simple? Well, if you look at the Euro Championships so far, I ran through some data today, and what I did instinctively was I went down and I added up all of the goals that have been scored already. And that actually pitches itself in at just under 2 goals per match. So on average, across all of the matches, there's been an average of just about 2 goals per match. So if we do the same calculation again, and we say 93 to 95 minutes, we're saying 94 minutes. I don't know how many minutes have been played. We'd have to work that out. Divided by 2, then it actually comes up and sort of says 47. So if we did 90 minutes divided by 2, then obviously it would be 45. And the average time of the first goal at Euro 2016 is 44 minutes. So you can see it's not that far out, is it? That's, you know, what I did was I added up all of the times of the first goals and then worked out the average of all of those, and it came out at 44 minutes. And in fact, when you actually look at the number of goals that have been scored, it's nearer to 1.9, not 1.2. So let's do that calculation again. We're going to do 93 minutes divided by 1.9. Actually, thinking about it, that's going to push the value up, isn't it? That's going to actually make the first goal a little bit later. So in fact, that calculation isn't going to be more accurate. It's going to be slightly less accurate. There you go. But can you see where I'm coming from? The more goals there are, the earlier it's likely that that goal will occur. The less goals there are, the later it will be that that goal is likely to be scored. So if you have a match where you're forecasting 4 goals and you can be reasonably accurate that you think those 4 goals are going to come, then obviously necessarily that first goal is going to come a little bit earlier. And then the distribution around that will be based around that particular average. So yeah, it's a really simplistic calculation, but actually it's reasonably accurate. Now, if you're going to be sticking hundreds of thousands or millions of pounds down, it's not that accurate. And this video isn't intended to gauge that level of accuracy, but you can actually improve it incredibly accurately so that over the course of the season you're going to get it more or less right. And that's what I do during every football match, especially during the domestic season, where I'm a bit better at getting those numbers spot on. So anyway, I thought that would be of interest to you during the major championships. And there's a direct example there of how that works. And I hope that's been useful to you, and it should improve your ability to trade the markets when you take that into account. Incidentally, BetAngel contains a wonderful tool called Soccer Mystic, and the idea behind that tool is to allow you to play around with combinations and times of goals. If you use Soccer Mystic, you will be able to identify key periods in a match, especially around that distribution of where goals are likely to occur. Check it out, because if you look at that and you use it enough, you'll spot exactly some of the things that I've been talking about in this video.